My mama is still breathing, the boy told the rancher, and he saw her beneath the wagon. The boy came running across the scrubland like something was chasing him. Jack Sullivan looked up from fixing his fence post, squinting against the afternoon sun. The kid couldn't be more than 10, his clothes torn and dirty, his face streaked with tears and dust. She's still breathing. Tommy Morrison screamed, stumbling over rocks in his desperation to reach Jack. Please, mister, she's still breathing. Jack dropped his hammer. Slow down, son. Who's breathing? My mama. She's trapped. The wagon fell on her. Where? Devil's Canyon. Please, you gotta help. Jack grabbed his medical bag from the porch. He'd learned field medicine during the war, back when keeping men alive mattered more than keeping secrets buried. Show me. Tommy led him through the maze of rocks and ravines that cut through the wasteland. Jack's horse picked his way carefully down the narrow path while Tommy ran ahead, his small legs pumping with pure determination. They found a wagon at the bottom of Devil's Canyon, overturned and splintered against the rocks. One wheel spun slowly in the wind. Beneath the wooden frame, a woman's hand stuck out, fingers barely moving. There. See? She's still alive. Jack jumped down and assessed the situation. The wagon was heavy, loaded with household goods and supplies. The woman underneath was pinned from the waist down, her face pale as death. What's her name? Elena. Elena Morrison. Elena, can you hear me? A weak moan came from under the wagon. We're going to get you out. Just hold on. Jack examined the wagon's position. If they lifted wrong, the whole thing could shift and crush her completely. Tommy, I need you to get behind that wheel and push when I say. Can you do that? Yes, sir. Not until I say. If this thing slips, it'll kill her. Jack positioned himself at the heaviest point, with the wagon's weight centered on Elena's legs. He'd have one chance to lift it high enough for Tommy to pull her free. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Jack heaved with everything he had. His back screamed, his arms shook, but the wagon rose 6 inches off the ground. Now, Tommy. The boy grabbed his mother's arms and pulled. Elena slid out from under the wagon just as Jack's strength gave out. The wooden frame crashed back down, splintering further against the rocks. Jack knelt beside Elena, checking for broken bones and internal bleeding. Her left leg was definitely broken, maybe both. Her breathing was shallow, labored, but she was alive. Tommy, what happened here? The bad men with badges came for us. They killed Papa 3 days ago. What bad men? Sheriff Carver and his friends. They said Papa was asking too many questions. Jack's hand stilled on Elena's pulse. He knew that name. Everyone in 3 territories knew Sheriff Carver's reputation. Questions about what? About the families that keep disappearing. Papa said someone was stealing their land after they died. Elena's eyes fluttered open. Her lips moved, trying to form words. Easy now. Don't try to talk. Jack Sullivan. Her voice was barely a whisper. You know my name? David told me about you. Said you lost your family, too. Jack's chest tightened. His wife and daughter had died in a wagon accident 5 years ago. Or so he'd been told. Your husband knew about Mary and Lucy? He knew it wasn't an accident. Elena tried to sit up, winced, and fell back. Carver's coming. He'll track us here. Why would Sheriff Carver want you dead? Because we have proof. David documented everything. All the murders made to look like accidents. Where's this proof? Hidden in David's Bible. Tommy knows where. She grabbed Jack's arm with surprising strength. Don't let them win. Don't let our deaths mean nothing. Elena's eyes rolled back, and she went limp. Mama. Tommy shook her shoulder. Mama, wake up. Jack checked her pulse. Still beating, but weak. She needed medical attention soon, or she'd die anyway. Tommy, where's your father's Bible? In our wagon. Hidden in the bottom of Mama's sewing box. Jack found the Bible wrapped in oilcloth, its pages marked with papers and photographs tucked between verses. He flipped through quickly, seeing names, dates, locations. A pattern of families who refused to sell their land, only to die in convenient accidents shortly afterward, including his own wife and daughter. How many families? Jack asked quietly. Papa counted 23 over 5 years. All killed by Carver? Papa said Carver works for someone bigger. Someone who wants a land for mining or railroads. Jack looked at Elena's broken body, then at Tommy's frightened face. He could load them in his wagon, take them to town, turn them over to the authorities. Carver would probably kill them both, but Jack would be safe. He'd been safe for 5 years, hiding on his ranch, avoiding trouble. Or he could take them home, patch up Elena, protect the boy, and use David Morrison's evidence to finally get justice for Mary and Lucy. That choice would make him a target. Carver had the law, the power, and the connections to destroy anyone who crossed him. But Jack was tired of being safe while good people died. He lifted Elena as gently as he could, carried her to his wagon, and made a bed for her in the back. Tommy climbed up beside his mother, clutching the Bible like it contained the secrets of the universe, which Jack realized it probably did. "Where are we going?" Tommy asked. "Home. My home. At least until your mama's strong enough to travel." "What about Sheriff Carver?" Jack checked his gun, made sure it was loaded. "Let him come." As they rode toward Jack's ranch, Elena unconscious in the wagon bed and Tommy silent beside him, Jack Sullivan knew he'd just declared war on the most powerful man in the territory. For the first time in 5 years, that felt exactly right. Jack carried Elena into his ranch house, laying her on the bed he'd built for Mary years ago. The mattress still smelled faintly of lavender soap, a ghost that haunted quiet evenings. Tommy followed close behind, clutching his father's Bible against his chest. "Is she gonna die?" Tommy whispered. "Not if I can help it." Jack examined Elena's injuries in the lamplight. Internal bleeding, definitely. Broken ribs, possible punctured lung. He'd seen worse during the war, but those men had army surgeons and morphine. All he had was whiskey and steady hands. "Tommy, heat some water. Clean towels are in that chest." Jack set Elena's leg bone as gently as he could. She groaned, her eyes fluttering open. "Where are we?" "My ranch." "You're safe." "No such thing as safe. Not anymore." Elena's fever spiked as night fell. She thrashed in the bed, mumbling about wagons and blood and men with badges who came in the dark. "The Hendersons," she whispered. "Carver burned them out when they wouldn't sell. Made it look like Indians. Rest now. The Patterson family. Poison well. 5 children dead in 3 days." Jack exchanged glances with Tommy. The boy's face was pale but determined. "She's been like this since Papa died. Keeps remembering all the families." "What families?" Tommy opened the Bible carefully. Inside, dozens of papers fell out. Photographs, letters, newspaper clippings. David Morrison had built a case against Sheriff Carver that would hang a dozen men. Papa started investigating after the Kellys died. Said their wagon accident looked wrong. Jack picked up a photograph. The Kelly family, standing in front of their homestead. Someone had written, "Refuse TO sell," across the bottom in red ink. "How many families did your father document?" 23. All in the past 5 years. All killed by Carver? Papa said Carver works for the railroad company. They want the land for cheap, so they make the families disappear. Elena's hand shot out, grabbing Jack's wrist. Her eyes were open but unfocused. "Mary Sullivan," she said, clearly. "Lucy Sullivan. Wagon accident on Miller's Pass." Jack's blood turned cold. "How do you know those names?" "David investigated them, too. Your wife and daughter weren't killed by bandits." "What are you talking about?" "Carver staged it. Made it look like a robbery." "That's impossible." Tommy pulled out a folder from the Bible. "Papa has pictures." Jack opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside were photographs of his wife's overturned wagon, but taken from angles the sheriff had never shown him. Details that proved it was no accident. "Why would Carver kill my family?" "Because you own the pass," Elena whispered. "The railroad needs that route." Mary wouldn't sell. Mary never mentioned any railroad offers. "Because she turned them down immediately. So the land was yours to keep, not theirs to buy." Jack stared at the evidence. 5 years of grief and guilt rewriting itself in his mind. He blamed himself for not being there to protect them. Blame bandits who didn't exist. Blame God for taking the only good things in his life. David was going to take this to the federal marshal, Elena continued. That's why we were running. What happened? Carver's men ambushed us on the road, shot David in the back, made it look like he attacked them first. And you saw this? I watched my husband die for trying to do the right thing. Outside, horses approached. Multiple riders, moving fast. Jack moved to the window and counted at least 8 men. Sheriff Carver sat his horse at the front, his badge glinting in the moonlight. Jack Sullivan. Carver's voice boomed across the yard. Send out the fugitives. Jack opened the door halfway. What fugitives? Elena and Thomas Morrison. They're wanted for murdering Deputy Barnes. That's a lie. They killed a lawman during their escape. I've got warrants. What kind of warrants? The legal kind. Now send them out. Or what? Or we come in and get them. Jack looked back at Elena, barely conscious but listening to every word. At Tommy, a 10-year-old boy who'd watched his father die for telling the truth. They're under my protection. Your protection doesn't mean much against 8 guns. Maybe not, but I'm willing to find out. Carver spurred his horse closer. You're making a mistake, Sullivan. A big one. I've made plenty of mistakes. This isn't one of them. Walk away. This doesn't concern you. Everything about this concerns me. Jack held up one of the photographs from David's collection, especially the part where you murder my wife and daughter. Even in the dim light, Jack saw Carver's face change. Surprise, then calculation, then cold resolve. So, I know everything. Then you know how this ends. Yeah, with you dead or in prison. Carver laughed. You always were too stupid to know when you were beat. We'll see. Jack slammed the door and dropped the heavy wooden bar across it. He moved quickly to the windows, checking the locks, pulling down the shutters he'd installed after Mary died. Tommy, help me push this cabinet against the back door. Are we gonna die? Not today. Elena struggled to sit up. Jack, the evidence. If something happens to us, promise me you'll get it to the federal marshal. Nothing's going to happen. Promise me. Jack looked at her fierce eyes, at Tommy's determined face, at the proof of Carver's crime scattered across his kitchen table. I promise. Outside, Carver's men took positions around the house. Jack checked his rifle, counted his ammunition. Not enough for a long siege, but enough to make them pay for every inch. Elena reached for his hand. Thank you for everything. Thank me when this is over. If it's not over, thank you anyway. Jack squeezed her fingers. It will be. The first shot shattered his front window. Glass exploded inward as bullets shattered the front window. Jack dug behind the heavy oak table, pulling Tommy down with him. Elena rolled off the bed, landing hard on the floor, but staying conscious. They're trying to pin us down. Elena gasped. Carver always starts with the windows. How do you know? David studied his tactics. Carver likes to make people feel trapped before he burns them out. More shots peppered the house. Jack crawled to the side window, rifle ready. Through a gap in the shutters, he could see Carver's men positioning themselves behind rocks and trees. Tommy, stay low and watch the back door. Yes, sir. Elena, can you reload? My hands work fine. Jack fired twice, watching one of Carver's men stumble and fall. The return fire was immediate and fierce. Splinters were flying as bullets chewed through the shutters. Jack Sullivan. Carver's voice carried across the yard. Last chance. Send them out. Go to hell. Have it your way. One of Carver's men appeared at the side of the house, carrying a torch. Jack shot him before he could throw it, but another man was already running toward the back. They're trying to burn us out. Tommy shouted. Not if I can help it. Jack moved to the back window, but Elena grabbed his arm. Wait. Listen. In the distance, more horses approached. Fast riders coming from the east. Jack peered through the shutters and saw federal badges glinting in the moonlight. Federal marshals. Elena whispered. David sent letters before we ran. Told them everything. Outside, Marshal Davidson's voice boomed across the chaos. "This is federal law. Lower your weapons." The shooting stopped. Carver's voice was tight with panic. "Marshal Davidson, thank God you're here. These people murdered Deputy Barnes. We'll sort that out. Tell your men to stand down." "I can't do that. They're armed and dangerous." "So are we. Stand down now." Jack opened the front door cautiously. 8 federal marshals had Carver's men surrounded, their rifles trained and ready. Carver looked trapped, his eyes darting between the marshals and Jack's house. Then his face hardened with desperate calculation. "Tommy Morrison," Carver shouted. "Come out here, boy." "Stay inside," Jack warned. But Carver was already moving, slipping away from the marshals in confusion. He appeared at the side window, gun drawn, before anyone could stop him. "Boy, I know you can hear me. Come out or I start shooting." Tommy looked at Jack, fear and determination warring in his young face. "He's just a child," Elena called out weakly. "He's a witness, and witnesses die." Carver fired a shot through the window, deliberately missing but making his point clear. 10 seconds, boy. Then I come in shooting." Tommy started toward the door, but Elena stopped him. Despite her broken ribs and internal bleeding, she struggled to her feet for the first time since the canyon. "No, I'll go." "Elena, you can't walk." "I can for this." She took David's Bible in her shaking hands and walked slowly toward the door. Each step was agony, but her voice was strong. "I'm coming out, Carver." "About time." Elena emerged from the house. Tommy's safety worth more than her own life. Carver grabbed her arm, his gun pressed against her temple. "Destroy the evidence or the boy dies." "The evidence is already with the marshals." "Destroy what you have here." Elena looked at the Bible in her hands, then at Tommy watching through the window. "You want to know what's in here, Carver? I'll tell everyone." She raised her voice, addressing the marshals, Carver's men, anyone who would listen. "The Henderson family, burned alive when they wouldn't sell their land. The Patterson children, poisoned by contaminated wells. Shut up. The Kelly family, made to look like an Indian attack. Mary and Lucy Sullivan, murder for refusing railroad money." I said, "Shut up." 23 families. 23 families you kill for money. Carver's gun swung toward Elena. "You talk too much." The shot echoed across the yard. Elena staggered backward, blood spreading across her chest. But she was still standing, still talking. "David Morrison, shot in the back for trying to bring you to justice." Jack's rifle cracked from the doorway. The bullet took Carver's center mass, spinning him around. He fell face first in the dirt and didn't move. Elena collapsed, but Jack caught her before she hit the ground. Tommy ran from the house, tears streaming down his face. "Mama." "It's okay, baby. The bad man can't hurt anyone anymore." Marshal Davidson approached, his men securing Carver's body and arresting the surviving deputies. "Ma'am, we got David's letters. We know what happened here." Elena smiled weakly. "Good. That's good." She looked up at Jack, her breathing growing shallow. "Take care of Tommy. Promise me." "I promise." "And Jack, thank you for believing us." Elena Morrison died as the sun rose, her son holding one hand and Jack holding the other. 3 months later, Jack stood in his garden, watching Tommy read from his father's Bible. The boy's voice was strong and clear, no longer afraid. Federal courts had awarded them the Morrison land, and Jack had officially adopted Tommy as a son. "And the truth shall make you free," Tommy read aloud. Jack planted tomatoes where Elena was buried, in soil finally free from the shadow of corruption. The land remembered its own, and justice had taken root at last.